this world of show business, chums, the thing that you learn about is, well, the missed opportunities, the things that you thought you could have done, would have liked to have done, and then you find out that, well, behind the scenes there's a lot of skullduggery and things that people do behind your back to try and waylay your career. And more importantly, you find out, well, it could be at the benefit of somebody else's. And this is a story that I wanted to share with you today because comedy, as you know, is a big thing. I love it. And I think if you can have a laugh every day, it's, well, whatever, it puts a smile on your face, it makes you forget things, and more importantly, you do sort of think, oh, right, you know, all is right with the world, you know what I mean? That sort of thing. Oh, well, have a lovely wave anyway, nice to see you, and as ever, welcome one and all brand new subscribers. I just got told actually a couple of days ago that a good friend of mine, the comedian Mick Miller, will be appearing at this year's Royal Variety performance at the Royal Albert Hall. And I have to be honest and say I'm not too keen on it at the Royal Albert Hall. For me, if you were going to appear on the Royal Variety, it truly has to be the London Palladium, or if you were really pushing it, somewhere like the Theatre Royal Drury Lane, you know. But of course now it's all about getting as much money in as possible, and there's even an after show party at the Natural History Museum. They've booked Mick Miller for the simple fact that the show needs laughs. It's as simple as that. Mick is a brilliant comedian of the old school, comes on, makes you laugh, knocks you out with comedy, and then walks off. When you look at the rest of the bill, and I'm not being unkind, but it's a sort of list of pop acts, and there you are, you know, there's an excerpt from this thing, or Stephen Fry's come in undressed as Lady Bracknell from The Importance of Being Earnest. Is this really variety? You know what I'm saying? Now, a true variety artist, in my opinion, was this wonderful man who was also a good friend, the late and brilliant Sir Norman Wisdom. Became good chums with him, and the first time I met him, in fact, was in a massive hotel in London, and he decided to come through the door, you know, when you're a bit nervous and you think, you know, and he tripped up, and he was a bit of an age at that point, you know, and I thought, what if he what if he keels over? You don't want to be the one that's finished the brilliant Sir Norman Wisdom off, do you? You know what I'm saying? But that's the story. Now, what was interesting about Norman, he, as I say, was a certain age at that point. He was hoping to do a movie, but I knew that this movie wouldn't come to fruition, even though they did some publicity, simply because to try and get the insurance when you get older, particularly for his sort of knockabout comedy, proved very hard to do. But Norman, like everybody who's successful, had his own heroes. And his heroes were the greats, of course, like Buster Keaton, the silent movie stars, and more importantly, these two, Laurel and Hardy. Now, Laurel and Hardy had played a big part in Norman Wisdom's career because for a very short period in the 1950s, they were both managed by the impresario Bernard Delfont. Bernard, in fact, put together their very few final British tours, Laurel and Hardy, that is. And if you've seen the movie Stan and Ollie, which was, I think, a great portrayal of the two, you'll understand exactly, well, what it was like for them, because they were on the downward cusp of their career. Still very popular over here, still selling out lots of theatres, but the manager always has a new idea. And the new idea was Norman Wisdom, recently signed to the Rank Film Studios, about to launch in his very first big hit movie, and starring in Bernard Delfont's productions in places like the Prince of Wales, in the very heart of London's Leicester Square. Now, what happened was the duo, should I say, all met, and they got on incredibly well. And this became directly from Norman himself. He said he couldn't quite believe it, you know, because he'd been to see Laurel and Hardy at his local picture house, his movie palace, you know, and there he's now sat in the dressing room of the Lyceum Theatre in the very heart of London, chatting away to his comedy heroes. Stan Laurel, an Englishman, suggested to Norman, an Englishman, well, how about you making a cameo in our forthcoming film? This was the film that never got made, that was truly never going to happen, as I say, because of, well, tricky again for Stan and Ollie, simply because of their age and the fact that there were new people on the block, including Abbott and Costello. Now, according to Norman, who told me this story, he said he rushed back, couldn't believe his luck, and spoke to his manager, Bernard Delfont, who was also managing the Laurel and Hardy tour. He suggested that they went back and got a picture with Stan and Ollie. Very clever move. But as it sort of moved on and the story developed, etc., Norman realised that, well, in fact, his manager, Bernard Delphant, didn't really want him to be in the movie with Stan and Ollie, and this was simply because he felt that Norman's star was rising and Stan and Ollie's was on the decline, even though they were making him big bucks at the box office across the United Kingdom on their final British tour. Norman said, being a little bit older, a little bit wiser, and knowing exactly how the world of show business works, he would have pushed harder because he absolutely adored them, thought they were the funniest thing ever, and they liked his comedy too. But as I said at the start of the video, there's often always somebody playing behind the scenes that you've got no idea who's manipulating your particular career. And for that, we didn't get to see this wonderful trio in action. New shown in the very heart of the United Kingdom.